Hi everyone, welcome back to making trick or treat bags, and in this video we're going to just concentrate on how to finish them off and how to do the applique. So if you need to know how the actual bag goes together, then you want to go to the pumpkin video where I show you everything. So let's get started and make 3 gorgeous appliques. For all the designs, you've got 3 different pictures here, the kitty cat and the pumpkin and the bunny, and we've got a cross through the middle, and this cross is always right on the nose. So on the front piece of the pattern, you've got that very same cross so that you can marry them both up and you know exactly what has to be placed where, especially since the cross is slightly to the top of the front piece and it's not slam bang in the middle. Then I would suggest that you use felt for this because it doesn't fray, and I would say that for something more durable you might want to use wool, but for something cheaper I would use the polyester or acrylic versions for this. You also need the Pellon under 805. It comes either on a roll or it comes in a little packet. It is actually a paper-backed fusible transfer web, that's what it's called, and it turns any fabric into a fusible fabric. Quick run through on how applique works before we start. Every fabric has a right side and an underside, which is also called the wrong side. Trace off your object and then it's going to be ironed to the underside or wrong side of the fabric that you're going to use. Then it's cut out and of course the paper backing peeled off, and we have to turn it over, which means it will end up mirror image to what you've traced off. And if you haven't traced it mirror image, it will look wrong. So you need to make sure when you do your own design that whatever that is, you have it mirror image. For my designs, for the bunny and all the other ones, it doesn't matter because I've already put them mirror image into the pattern, so you can just trace them off. I also put 2 eyes and 2 pupils, etc., so you don't even have to worry about turning anything over. You can just simply go trace it off and you're ready to go. Once all the pieces are traced off, you want to cut them out. You cut them out roughly. When I was a school teacher, the students always used to leave like lots of space in between. That is not necessary because we're going to cut them all apart afterwards, like you can see here. So put them together as closely as you can and don't waste any of this quite expensive Pellon Wander Under or Bonder web. Use every little bit you have and keep the rest. Now you're ready to put all these pieces with a fusible side facing down onto the wrong side to be ironed on. So in my case I need the 2 eyes and the nose and the mouth. So I'm going to do that, and the other eyes are in white of course. So put an ironing cloth, in my case just an old silk scarf actually, put that on for 8 seconds and that should do the trick to have it securely on there. You might want to try as well whether it is. And once you've done all the pieces here for the bunny, it's loads of pieces, you can start cutting them all out. Next we're going to prepare the front pattern piece, and we want just the center of the cross really. In this example I cut it all out, but a little hole in the middle will do just to mark where the nose is going to go, because it's always right on the nose. So mark that with your textile marker or chalk, it doesn't matter what you use, and it's on the right side of the fabric we're doing this, not the wrong, the right side, the upper side, because you might not be using felt, you see. And we're placing on our items. I start off with the nose. I check how the nose goes on there. Is it straight? In my case it's not really straight, and you can see here the fusible web on the underside of my nose. So turn it over and stick it on right on the center where the cross is. And then I'm also going to do the mouth or jaw, whatever. And you can see here I really struggle peeling it off. When you have that, go and iron it on a little bit better. It's always a sign that it hasn't fused properly. And you can see here it comes off really rough, so you don't want that. And then it comes off really smooth again where I've ironed it on properly. So that is not so good. I just left it. I mean, it's a Halloween basket. It doesn't really matter once it's ironed on and then sewn around it. You can't tell the difference, but that's how it works. So I put it on, looking at my picture, seeing how does it need to go on, you know, just like that, slightly tipped. And then I can put the rest of the pieces on. And it comes off really well from the white of the eye. That's how it should be. Should be a really shiny underside that you've put face down, and then it can be ironed on. So it's on the ironing board now, and I'm putting my nice little silk scarf over the top, and then I iron it. You might want to check that it's all ironed on properly if you're not intending to sew around all the individual pieces. That's quite important. Here's a bit loose, so I'm going to go again, and I'm going to use plenty of steam. I know the instructions will tell you don't use steam, but it works. Don't worry about it. Give it lots of steam, especially if you're using an ironing cloth in between. It's fine. And now that it's done, I can actually sew it on if that's what you want to do. You could leave it as well, just for a one-day affair. You don't need to do that. But if you are, make sure that your needle is down as you want to lift the presser foot and turn. That's absolutely essential, because otherwise it's going to look really crooked. And here you can see the little lights twinkling on the top of the basket. I think that's so cool. My son filmed that when it was dark, because I put these little lights on the top, which you see in the other video, which shows you how to do it. When you're sewing around a round bit, you might want to try to do it without your right hand and just forcing it round with your left hand, because that's how it's done if you're professional. Don't pull it from the right, just the left hand, just kind of smoothing it around with lots of pressure though, you know, and that saves you a bit of time of lifting the presser foot, etc. You can't always do that, of course. With the very small pieces you won't be able to do that, but it's good practice to see if you can stitch round like that. In the tip, of course, we have to lift the presser foot, and then we go round again. It really practices total control over your sewing machine, which I think is quite important. If you're learning, you might as well learn something with this. And then for the tiny bits, make sure that the stitch length is really small as well. So I would say about 2, so that you can go around these little pupils here. There we go. That's the pumpkin all done, and you can see the twinkly lights here on top. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. And on the inside, because there were so many of them, it still twinkles, and your kid can see what they've collected. Right, let's have a little look at the cat one to see what's different here. We've got only the eye and the nose, so that's really fast. And the ears here, we've got the outer ear and the inner ear, which need to be sewn together. And again, we peel the paper backing off and place it according to the template we've got. Right, now to the whiskers. You want to fold in half your template piece of paper and draw just around one side. And the whiskers, you can just draw freehand, you know, 3 whiskers. You might want to do nicer whiskers than I have done. They can be in different lengths. That might look really cool. And this is a little trick from the tailoring workshop. You want to put the ends on top of each other and then tap it really sharply, and that will transfer the chalk to the other side. All I have to do now is go over it so I can really see it, and then I can start embroidering it. So it's really a very, very simple trick to make sure that both sides are exactly the same. And I'm using a wool thread I also got from Joann's, and I think actually that was too thick to work with, and my needle also wasn't an embroidery needle, so it does help to have the right equipment. I would suggest you use a slightly thinner embroidery thread or a slimmer woolly thread to do this. So you go in and do your first stitch. Don't make them too small, actually. They need to be quite spaced out. And I used 3 stitches here for the inner part of the whisker, and then leave out a stitch and come out like 1 stitch further, and then you go through the hole that you went under just before, and so you now have 2 stitches next to each other, and then you go 1 stitch further over again, and then you go backwards 1 stitch, and that's how you can put all the whiskers on. And there we go. All I have to do now is to sew around all the eyes. I could even put like some eyelashes on, do my little ears, and finish my basket. And here it's done. All I need to do now is turn in the edge, because this is not lined, this one. If you line it, of course, you just put it into the lining. How that works you can see on that initial video that I did for the pumpkin. You want to put the handle on, and because it hasn't got lining, you just stick it in there on the side seam on both sides and sew it down from the outside, and that's all you do. And then we're going to place our little cat ears center. They have a longer length, and then I'm going to put them on just where the dart is, so on either side of the dart. And there we go. That's the beautiful basket finish. I think it looks absolutely great. And we can move on quickly to the last one, and that is the bunny basket. And here we've got loads and loads of pieces, but the same applies to this one as well. You get all your pieces cut out and basically just put them on. But one thing I want to point out is I found that because of the different height and the many layers of felt, I put a little bit of scrap here, the nose, so that it wouldn't like dip down in that area. So that's what I did. Put it all back on, iron it on, and then stitch around all of this. You also need to put together your ears. So you've got, again, the inner ear and the outer ear. So inner ear goes on top of outer ear. Just stitch around, and once that is done, you can put your basket together. So cute. Now I'm going to turn in the upper edge again, but little tip here, because it's going to get a little bit tighter. If you snip here around the edge, you don't need to snip lots, just like where the seam is maybe next to it, something, just a couple of snips, then it will be easier to turn in. And since it's a Halloween basket, it really doesn't matter you know, that it's visible. And you can see here that just gives it that little bit of space. And then foot width all the way around, sew it on, and we're ready to then put the ears and the handle on. I've also done an extra base because it was a bit flimsy down here, as you can see. So I took 2 pieces of round felt like that and sewn them together, and then you could stick them in with textile glue, or you can sew them on. I actually sewed them on because I didn't find my textile glue. Otherwise I would have done it. I am not someone that makes extra work for themselves. And I just attach it to one of the seams so it can't go anywhere, and that gives it that stability, especially if there's loads and loads of sweets in it. You want it to look good at the end of the night as well. And then last not least, we're going to do the ears, and I'm going to put in a little box pleat here. So I'm sewing down just about a centimeter over, or just over, and then snip it open so that when I sew it on, it's flatter and my sewing machine can go over it. And then I place this onto the basket, and we are placing it so that the center of my box pleat lies on the dart. And so that they don't flop down, what I'm doing is I'm attaching the seam allowance to the dart, and therefore it will stand up nicely. I can also attach it to the handle. I would only do it on one of them, so the other one can flop down a bit. I think that looks really cute. Lovely. So all 3 baskets done. If you want to see how the actual basket goes together, of course, we've got a video for that. And we've got that extra one to show you how to make it in a princess theme. And I hope you really enjoy that one too. The link to frocksandfrolics.com and to my Facebook group and official Facebook and Instagram and all of that, and the fabrics, of course, can all be found in the video description. And thank you very much for watching again. See you next time. Bye for now.